So I loved languages, and I don't even know why. That's crazy. It was on mute. Dave, I'm doing a fireside chat. I'll call you later.
You have 30 seconds or no?
Why not?
Thank you.
You're on speaker, by the way, and the entire video crew is hearing you.
And we're recording it.
Well,
Hi, David.
I'm glad that I was about to tell you that the video crew team's getting cut from our budget, but
Rude.
Can you please quickly look at your calendar?
I could tell you now, I'll be in Macedonia.
Perfect.
Back in Florida?
Yes.
Oh, God.
My apologies in advance.
Why do they even want me?
They for some reason think you're integral to the future of PragerU. I tried to tell them you're not, but I couldn't get it.
See, first he insults you, then he insults me. If the guy raises money and insults you.
Yeah.
No, I'm not insulting you.
It's a gift.
I'm trying to do you a favor.
Okay. All right, Dave, I love you.
Bye.
All right,
Thank you,
bye.
love you, bye.
Okay. Wait, it was on
a lot of do you have him set as a favorite?
You probably have him set as someone who can come.
No. David is the last one. David, I would put on automatic mute.
Yeah. Auto mute.
Okay, everybody, welcome to Fireside Chat number 350-something.
352.
352. So I hope I'm laughing at myself. It's, in case you were curious what started me laughing, since I didn't say anything funny. But in my brain, I had something funny. And that was, I was going to say, I'm going to be quite brief because I want to take as many questions as possible. There were so many good ones from so many places around the world. And then I started to laugh at myself because it's not easy for me to keep these opening comments as brief as I anticipate. But maybe I'll be able to get away with it this time. I just can't resist having to say a word about what was done at the opening of the Olympics in Paris, where in the Last Supper, one of the most important scenes in the New Testament, is mocked. I mean, big time, by almost naked man, trans people, and guys in drag. And I'm shaking my head because I'm not shocked. So it's a perfect illustration of something that I have, two things that I have been saying for decades. Number one, the great battle in Western civilization is between the left and the Bible. That's the battle. I'm not Christian in saying this, as most of you know. I'm a committed and practicing Jew. But just a little tangent. All of these headlines, Christians offended by, Catholics offended by opening scene in the Paris Olympics, you don't have to be Christian to be offended by that. It's like people now think in terms of what group are you in, and then we'll understand your reaction. I mean, do you have to be a Jew to side with Israel against those who wish to exterminate it, who have announced that's their intent, who drop a bomb on kids playing soccer? So it's, do you have to be a Christian to be offended by the mockery of Christianity that took place at the Paris Olympics, or for that matter, in American terms, that the Los Angeles Dodgers baseball team didn't really allow, honored a group mocking nuns, the Sisters of Perpetual Desire. I think that's their mocking name. They honored them. Tangent number two, and I promise to return. Tangent number two is there's no mockery ever of Islam. And there's, let's be very honest, there is a lot more bad things, a lot more evil coming out of the Islamic world than out of the Christian world. And doesn't mean at all that all Muslims are bad or anything like that, but There's no comparison. On the list that the U.S. government has put out of the 20 top religious terror organizations, all 20 are Muslim. Do you know of a Christian terror organization? Or a Jewish terror organization, Buddhist terror organization, Shinto terror organization, Hindu terror organization? But they would never mock Islam because they're cowards. They know they'll get hurt. Whereas if you mock Christians, the Pope didn't even say anything, at least as of this broadcast. The Pope has not said anything, which I'm not surprised. This Pope is much more concerned with global warming than with mockery of Christianity. So there's so much going on here. These tangents are as important as the point I make. So you don't have to be a Christian to be offended. I'm a Jew and I'm offended. It's just offensive. So again, the point number one that I've been making so long is that the battle in the modern world is between the Bible and the left. The left has contempt and often hatred for the Bible. The Bible is the antithesis of leftism. Not liberalism, I always make the distinction, but leftism. And the left took over the preparation or the opening ceremony for the Paris Olympics. The other point that I've been making is we are not in a post-Christian or really post-Judeo-Christian age. We are entering a pre-Judeo-Christian age. We are going back to the pagan world prior to the Bible. We are going back 3,000 years. We're not moving forward at all. And by the way, the people who made the skit mocking the Last Supper said this, we didn't intend to mock Christianity, right? But let's say that all we did was celebrate paganism, which they did. That's exactly right. Both are true. It's a celebration of paganism. There's a hockey team, the San Jose Sharks. They had an evening honoring some indigenous tribal group in the West. I think it was the Aztecs. I'm not certain. People who practiced human sacrifice in the tens of thousands. But listen, the left has engaged in human sacrifice in the tens of millions. So they got the Aztecs beat. So I just wanted to share that with you. It's quite remarkable that the International Olympic Committee allowed it, that the French are proud of it. The president of France, Macron, said how proud he was of that skit. That's mind-blowing. Okay, now that my mind is blown, a reminder, by the way, that you should join Prager United. Go to PragerUnited.com. There are a whole host of benefits. Really, they're good benefits. And, of course, you get to keep everything we do, especially the Fireside Chat, free to people. Everything we do is free, and it's only because people donate. Go to PragerUnited.com, and you can see what I'm talking about, and I thank you for that. So now we go to your video question, and I really was relatively brief.
That's good.
I'm hurt. That was good, he said. And the whole video crew is laughing. And I sit here and take it. Okay, hello to you.
Hello, my name is Julia and I'm from Poland, and I'm currently studying applied linguistics. So since I know that Dennis himself is a linguist, I would like to ask him, do you think that studying foreign languages at the same time, multiple ones, is beneficial? And if so, and if there is an upper limit, how many would you say would be too many to be studying simultaneously? Thank you very much. I look forward to your answer.
If this girl is not charming, my name is not Dennis.
Very charming.
Correct?
Mm-hmm.
How did you learn English so well? That was impressive. So, folks, she's studying, I didn't even understand. That was the one thing I didn't understand. And now I know why, because I looked at the transcript. I know why I didn't understand it. I have no idea what it means now that I even know what it is. Applied linguistics. So, Julia, you have to come to California and explain to me what applied linguistics is. But clearly, you love languages. So, listen, I could spend a lot of time on my love of languages. God, I don't want to overstate it. My mind came up with the words, there's nothing more important than studying languages. Well, there is. Studying values is more important. But to develop the mind and to be able to speak your own language better, I don't know. They did a whole bunch of studies about how it develops your brain if you start at a young age learning other languages. So I started with Hebrew at the age of 5. I speak Hebrew fluently. I've lectured in Israel in Hebrew. I've been on Israeli TV and radio, interviewed, and they speak fast, as most people in their native language do. They speak fast. Then in high school, I decided to study French. I had only alternatives were Spanish or French. And I remember, it's an interesting thing, that I took French instead of Spanish, only because almost all the kids took Spanish. And I always marched to a different drummer. Oh, they're all taking Spanish, I'll take French. I really had no reason. And I thought Spanish was easier, and I always liked to do the tougher thing. So anyway, I took French. So I took French for 3 years in high school, and I learned it pretty well. I do get along. I'm not fluent like in Hebrew, but I get along in French. I've been to France, I've been to North Africa, and spoken it with people there. And I read French. I can read a French newspaper. I cannot read a French novel. I'm not sure I can read a Hebrew novel, because novels have vocabulary that is not, newspaper vocabulary, so to speak. So languages are critical for the development of the brain, but I want to give you a few more benefits. And I will come to Julia's question, can you be studying too many languages, in a moment. So already by the end of high school, I had learned two foreign languages, French and Hebrew. And I was realizing something, especially French, because I was a later age, and I started to realize the following. There are many ways of describing the same thing, but they're different in different languages. For example, how do you say I like in French? I found out, I've asked this to people of many languages, there's no word like in any language of which I am aware. There's love, but not like. And I know in Hebrew there's no word I like. Same in Russian, which I'll tell you about in a moment. So I remember the revelation that in French you don't say I like, let's say, the book. You say, or I like it. You would say il me plaît, which means it pleases me. And I realized that's fascinating. They're not the same. It conveys a similar idea, but they're not the same. It pleases me and I like are not identical. And I love that. I found it so interesting to me. I find languages so interesting. How do they say in this language what we say in our language? And I never assumed my language is right. From a very early age, I realized there's no such thing as right or wrong in language. It's just the way you speak. And then that there was masculine and feminine, but that I had in Hebrew as well. All of this, anyway, it totally fascinated me. And then I learned Russian in college. And yet another way of expressing things. I'll give you an example, another different. Here's a fascinating one. Julia, I'm sure you'll get a kick out of this. So there's no present tense of the verb to be in many languages. If you're only an English speaker, this makes no sense to you. What's the present tense of the verb to be in English? Am, is, are, right? I am Dennis. I am a speaker, right? I am whatever. But am doesn't exist in many, many languages. You can say I will be and I was, but not I am. So how do you say I am Dennis in Hebrew and in Russian? I, Dennis. There's no am. Now here's an interesting question. What good is am? What purpose does it serve? I, Dennis, is identical to I am Dennis. Nobody speaking Russian or Hebrew goes, you, Dennis? What are you talking about? They know exactly. So here's a real killer. When God appears to Moses in the book of Exodus at the burning bush, one of the most important scenes in the Bible, and introduces who he is, and Moses keeps saying, who are you? What's your name? And God says, well, in Hebrew, Eheyeh asher eheyeh, meaning I will be what I will be, or who I will be. I will be. Because you can't say in Hebrew, I am who I am. But it's always translated as I am who I am. But in fact, it says I will be who I will be. Now that is different. I am who I am, or I will be who I will be. You get my enthusiasm. I hope it's contagious, because languages, by the way, in a certain sense, I feel I speak another foreign language, music, because it is a language. It's its own alphabet, right? The notes of the staff, of the musical staff, and I read that too. And in fact, I conduct orchestras periodically. So music also develops the mind of children, but they don't have it. In America, kids don't learn other languages. They don't learn music. It's a big loss. Now you in Europe, virtually every European speaks another language, especially young people. I mean, they have to. I mean, if you grow up in Finland, other than Finns, who speaks Finnish? Nobody. So a Finn has to learn another language, and English happens to be the world's other language, generally speaking. But many of them, I mean, I have a dear friend, my wife and I, a 30-year-old Danish woman. So she speaks English perfectly. She speaks English better than many Americans. But she also speaks German, because the Danish comes from German, and she's on the border of Germany. So as regards Polish, so I had a Polish girlfriend when I visited in my 20s in Lublin, and I spoke to her in Russian. That was the language that all the East Europeans had to learn. They didn't learn English; they learned Russian because they were under Russian control. And so the girl and I would speak in Russian. And that was perfectly fine. But I did learn a tongue twister. The bee bumbles in the bush, or something like that. Now, I know I'm gonna ruin it, Julia, but I'm gonna give you what I remember anyway. I'm close, but I know I'm not there. But I thought you'd get a kick out of that. Can you study too many languages? That's almost like saying, can you, let's see, can you earn too much money? Although the truth is you probably can earn too much money, but it's not a danger for most people. I don't see why learning I don't know why it would be an issue. It's not like it's a zero-sum game. If you learn language X, then you won't be mastering language Y. So I hope we meet one day, Julia. It's all I could say. And it was a lot of fun to talk about my love of languages. There is a book out, by the way, one final point, The Story of Language. I read it in high school. I devoured the book. The guy wrote it, I.M. Pei, P-E-I, I.M.Pei, P-E-I. He must have known a dozen languages or more. His mastery was astonishing, and he talks about language. I'm going to read it again. So if you don't know about it, Julia, definitely look it up, and all of you. But learn a language and teach your kids another language. It's terrific. Oh, and then I learned Arabic. But you didn't know that. So that I also studied for a few years, but that was the hardest. That was much harder than Russian. Even though I know Hebrew, it was harder than Russian because they're related in many ways. But just to read Arabic was a massive challenge. I learned the Russian alphabet in a week, but it took 6 months to master. I can't even say I mastered it. Anyway, just thought I'd throw that in. All of it has been a big help. Oh, yes, I didn't mention one final thing, and that is you speak your own language better when you learn other languages because you see how language is constructed, so you will construct your own language even better. So I ended up answering that longer than I even gave my opening comments, didn't I? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the way it works. All right, our United member question. If you go to join United, Prager United at PragerUnited.com, the first question after the video goes to you as an honor. This is Bob B. in Northville, we think, Michigan. What the hell does that mean? What is we think?
He didn't put the state, so
he didn't put the state?
I
can't believe there's only one Northville in the United States.
Find any others, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. We're often asked to pray for our country. What are the right words for such a prayer? How was Dennis Prager's prayer for the fate of the United States stated? That's an interesting question. Well, really, the answer is in large measure, how do you pray for yourself? So this is really worthy of an opening segment. When people think of praying to God, they almost always think of asking for something. Heal my child who's sick. Heal me, I'm sick. I have the following problem. Please help me out. Completely understandable prayers. I am not a fan, personally, never have been, of petitionary prayer. I will admit I've asked God for something twice in my long life. The killer is they both actually materialized. I'm not saying they did because of my prayer, but I'm just saying. My attitude is I am far more interested in what God wants from me than what I want from God. That is my attitude toward me and God. What, God, do you want from me? So if I will pray, and I will often say something to God prior to my giving a speech, and that is, may I say what you want me to say. That I do very, very often. As for one's country, similarly, I would pray that our country does what you want it to do. As regards the United States, well, I'll tell you a very painful thing. I wrote this up, so I might as well say it. It's in one of my columns. So I, along with two others, founded a synagogue in Los Angeles, where I speak every Sabbath. And about 170 people come every Saturday morning, which is a pretty big turnout. And it's all word of mouth because we don't advertise or anything. So there's a prayer for the country, and it begins with, may you bless the United States of America, a beacon of liberty and justice in a dark world. And we've changed it. And that is, we now say, founded to be a beacon of liberty in a dark world, because there's been such an assault on liberty in the United States from the left that, especially free speech, that I can't advocate that we say something that isn't true. America, from almost all of its history, was a beacon of liberty. And while today it is still freer than many, many countries, it's not the beacon that it was. So I pray that we return to being that beacon of liberty. How are we doing on time?
We're good.
Good. Chris, Atlanta, Georgia. What are your thoughts on what Candace Owens recently said about Dr. Mengele? I know in the past you've said that she has stored up good credits, but surely she has spent those with the recent comments. So this is a very painful arena for me, because she began her career with PragerU. Hasn't been with us at least 5 years, I would say. But I attended her wedding in England. Some of her comments are very, very, very disturbing. I hope to go on a podcast with her and talk to her human to human. So I'm going to reserve my comments unless that doesn't materialize, because I want to reach out to her to try to tell her and explain to her, because she respects me. She has often said that she has said really painful and wrong things. The comments on Dr. Mengele were perhaps the most serious. And I'm not going to repeat what the comments are now, but I didn't want to avoid your question. David, 24, Newtown, Connecticut. I have watched the PragerU video, Don't Follow Your Passion. It does make a good point. So my question to you is, if you don't make a career choice based on what your passion is, how else do you make a career choice? I got a great answer, thanks to my father, may he rest in peace. My father's first love, his passion, was medicine. He wanted to be a doctor. It ended up that his older son, my older brother, did end up a doctor. So we sort of got a lot of joy talking to him about medicine when he was in medical school. But his family could not afford medical school. It came from quite a poor family. So he took up accounting, which is about as related to medicine as I don't know, it is to entomology, the study of insects. So my father did a great thing. It's to his great credit. He fell in love with accounting. There's the idea that you could only have passion for one thing, or for that matter, one person, or one food, or one type of music. I mean, the human being is quite elastic in terms of passion. There's no such thing as you're only passionate about one thing. Maybe you feel that, but how do you know you won't? And so he fell in love with his profession, and he explained why. He said, Dennis, I'll never forget how often he would mention this to me. He said, as people's accountant that is handling their finances, their taxes, when people open up about their money, they will open up about anything. And that's true. People are more likely to talk to you about their marital relationship than they are about their income. Almost nobody tells people how much money they make. I don't know if this is true around the world, but it's certainly true in the United States. It's an amazing thing when you think about it, but it is what it is. And so he said, so they would start opening up to me about their marital problems or about their kids' problems. So he said, I didn't end up a doctor, but I did end up a psychologist, just being an accountant. It was really wonderful. Also, he thought of every client as another challenge. The challenge was, how can I legally, he was extremely ethical, how can I legally have this person pay as little tax as possible? That was his challenge with every client. I was his client till he was 90. He was practicing till he was 90. So, I mean, what if you have a passion for acting? You know how many people succeed as actors? What percentage of people want to be actors and end up an actor? A successful, I mean, monetarily successful actor? What, 1%? 1 out of 100? Maybe less. I know that because I live in Los Angeles, California, where half your waiters and waitresses are actors. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's it? They didn't get to do their passion of acting, so the world of passion is closed off to them? Okay, there's a really important question and a really important answer.
Want to do birthday messages?
We're already up there?
Yeah, we're up there.
Oh, we have Iran, and we have Japan, and we have Mexico and Canada and Australia, the UK and Brazil left.
We'll get to them.
It brings me great joy that people are watching around the world. And it makes sense because there's nothing I say that's only applicable to Americans. So in light of it being my birthday, I just want you to know what PragerU is doing. What is the match? What number?
Doubled. before
Double.
August 10th.
So anything between now and the next 10 days will be doubled in honor of my birthday. So we rely on contributions, obviously. We're a nonprofit organization. I just want to say this. Clearly, we have some major donors who give a lot of money. But I know that I speak for everyone at PragerU, how much we treasure any donation of any amount. In fact, it's a matter of pride for us to say, guess what? Half of our money comes from people who give $25 or less, or whatever that number is. And that's a big deal to us, and it's a big deal to people who hear that. We deeply, obviously appreciate the big donations, but it makes more of an impact on people to know how many people have donated than how much has been donated. So whatever you give is doubled for the next 10 days, but I just want you to know how much it means to everybody. So here's the story. Tomorrow is my birthday. It seems to me, which is pretty par for the course as you get older, my birthdays happen more than once a year. It seems like they come around every 3 months. It's a little depressing. But anyway, yes, it is my birthday. And so what is it? You guys announced at PragerU it's my birthday. And if you want to send Dennis a birthday wish.
Yeah, we invited people.
So in 2 weeks, we got 7,000 birthday messages.
7,000.
7,000.
Yeah.
That's really sweet. I'm very touched, actually. Most were positive.
Overwhelming.
So where are they? Yeah. So they wanted me to read a few of them as samples. They made one error at PragerU. They should have had you list, obviously your name, that's there, but how old you are and where in the world you live. I really would have loved that. But anyway, it is what it is. So here's an example from Evelyn. Mr. Dennis Prager, I wanted to thank you for your courage and integrity for living for something bigger than yourself and caring so deeply about lighting the way for younger generations in times of great darkness. It's been a blessing to find you and the PragerU channel, and it's a gift of God to have you among us. Wow, I'm very touched. Thank you so much. Receive a big hug from a Catholic woman who keeps you and all the Jewish people in her prayers. God bless you, Mr. Prager, and God bless Israel. Now, that's interesting. Did she mean to write God bless you or God blessed you? She wrote God blessed you, but I'll bet she meant to write, it's sort of a Freudian slip. She wrote what she meant. God did bless me. Whenever people say to me, which is very common, even if they just meet me at the airport, oh, God bless you. And I always answer, He has. Because I am a very blessed man. I know that. I walk around on the planet of gratitude. So a big hug from a Catholic woman. So that's par for the course, because I was saying, you don't have to be Catholic to be offended at what happened at the Olympics. I'm a Jew and I'm as offended as you are. So it makes sense. Should I do another one?
Yeah, do a few.
Do a few?
Yeah.
I feel self-conscious.
They'll be so happy you're reading them.
Ethan, dear Mr. Prager, my name is Ethan and I am 13 years old from Michigan. I would like to wish you a happy birthday and thank you for the great impact you've had on my life. Thank you, Mr. Prager. So I even have a thought on that, naturally. I started speaking publicly at the age of 21, which is a very odd life, but I've had a very odd life. So about the age of 25, I remember I was speaking in a synagogue. And I remember from my own synagogue attendance as a kid, when the rabbi spoke, the kids all left to play outside. Or the rabbi speaking will walk out. I mean, that's what happened. And my father took a nap. It was sad, but that was common. Not everybody listened. Same with pastors and priests. It's the same exact thing. Some hold people's attention, many don't. Anyway, I was giving this speech, and I noted in the front row was a mother with a kid, I would say about 13, maybe 11. And I was looking at the kid, and he was listening. And while speaking, I thought, wow, I'm keeping an 11, 12, 13-year-old kid's attention. And it really had an impact on me. And because I analyze everything, as should be clear to all of you, and I analyze, why am I interesting to a 12-year-old? I'm speaking about a very serious subject, God, religion, ethics. And then I realized, if you make sense and speak clearly, kids will listen. And I've lived by that rule all of my life. So I'm not surprised that Ethan at 13 listens. There's no reason you wouldn't. It's a credit to you, and it's a credit to how clear I make concepts. And you know why I make concepts clear? Because if something isn't fully clear, I don't get it. If I read something in a book, and this was a great realization I made in college, I would read a textbook, and then I go, I don't understand what this writer said. So I'd read it again. Then if I read it again and I still didn't understand it, so I realized then there were two possibilities. Either he's so profound and I'm not, or he doesn't know what the hell he's writing. And I immediately assumed it's the second. That's when I came up with the idea of my mirrors of life. The mirror of your body is the physical mirror, the mirror of your face. But what is the mirror of your mind? The answer is writing. If your writing isn't clear, it's because your thinking isn't clear. And that was the case in a lot of these textbooks. So, okay. Anyway, I'm not going to read more. They're all beautiful. Heather, George, Jack, Madigan. There's a rare name. Kim, Matthew, Tiffany, Russell, Natalie, Martha. Well, thank you all. They're beautiful things you wrote, and it means a lot to me. I told them to print out all 7,000 of your birthday wishes. I would like, we have a beautiful, what is it called? The Dennis Prager Library? What is that? What it's called at PragerU? Mm-hmm. The Prager Library? Yep. And I want to put it in there. It is meaningful to me. So that was a nice way to end. Here's even an equally nice way. I no longer have to tell you that you have to get off YouTube. So you might have watched this whole thing on YouTube. We prefer you watch it PragerU because you never know when YouTube will drop it, and get the PragerU app. But nevertheless, if you're watching elsewhere, all I care is that you watch, because I really put my heart into this, as you could probably tell. As I reflect on yet another birthday, to many more years together, I'm Dennis Prager.